Funding for Overheard with Evan Smith is provided in part by Hilco Partners, Texas Government Affairs Consultancy, and its global healthcare consulting business unit, Hilco Health, and by the Matson McHale Foundation in support of public television, and also by MFI Foundation, improving the quality of life within our community, and also by the Alice Kleberg Reynolds Foundation, and viewers like you. Thank you.
I'm Evan Smith. He's the founder and co-CEO of Whole Foods Market, the largest U.S. natural foods grocer and a global leader in the organic food space, with more than 300 stores in North America and the U.K. If he's smiling today, it's because Whole Foods shares have been surging of late on the strength of better-than-expected sales. Welcome news as he celebrates the company's 30th anniversary in business. He's John Mackey. This is Overheard. Is that a vote you'd like to have back now?
Because you're a judge or a justice in your case doesn't mean that you're free of personal opinions about them.
You have a dimmer view of him than you have of presidents past.
So when they take your name in vain, you just laugh it off. For the larger issue, though, in your mind, is that it's not about whether there ought to be a death penalty, but whether the death penalty as administered is fair.
John Mackey, welcome.
Good to see you, Evan.
Nice to see you again, and congratulations on the anniversary of Whole Foods, 30 years.
Thank you.
In fact, it's actually more than 30 if you go all the way back to Safer Way, which many people don't remember, but I know you do.
That's really how I think of it, because for me there was a continuum there.
So for everybody's benefit here, in 1978 you founded Safer Way, which was the precursor to Whole Foods. It eventually became Whole Foods in the fall of 1980?
Correct.
And so you're now in 30 years in, and you think back over that period, has it gone as you thought it would? Have you exceeded your expectations?
It's gone really fast.
Yeah.
And I think it's a funny thing about our lives is when you look back on them, I can remember it all so clearly like it was yesterday, but
right.
30 years have passed. And I didn't have a whole lot of expectations. So initially, when Renee and I started Safer Way, and then Craig and Mark, we did Whole Foods, I think we just wanted to have one store that sold healthy food and we could earn a living doing it.
Right. And now you're 300 plus stores in, not only in this continent, but across the pond, as they say, and you're continuing to grow. You have plans for new stores on the books right now.
Yes, we've got, I think, 57 more stores in development right now.
The largest number of stores is in Texas? Or in another state?
Texas.
Please say Texas. Please say Texas.
I'm pretty sure Texas will eventually pass up California.
But right now, California?
Yes, California has a lot more stores in Texas.
You have acquired other smaller chains along the way. Is it because of that California has more stores, or are these just natural up from the ground Whole Foods stores?
California has, there's still a lot more people that live in California than Texas.
Right.
So, and I would say California is in a lot of ways kind of the birthplace of natural and organic foods movement.
Right.
So it's been a really good state for us.
Now, when you make the decision to open a new store, is that the issue, population, where you look for, I mean, is it a classic definition of what a business does? You look and see, is the demand there, and that's where we're going to go, or are there other considerations?
We definitely look for population density.
Yep.
We also pay a lot more attention to density of college graduates.
Interesting.
College
graduates.
For people to change the way they eat,
right.
They really need to be, they have to have, their consciousness has to be raised to a certain extent to change their eating patterns. And we find that correlates pretty well with college degrees. Not perfectly, but it's the best thing you can get from the census data.
People with a little bit more money as opposed to a little bit less.
Yes, but I think that's oftentimes misunderstood because we constantly get bracketed as some kind of upper income.
Well, you've heard the whole paycheck thing for years. You know, people say, well, the problem...
Mostly from the media.
Really?
Yeah.
You mean that's them, not us, not me. Right, yeah.
Well, you're the one that brought it up.
Well, but you acknowledge, though, that, and as unfair as it may be, that one knock has been that there's a price issue. But in fact, you say that's not fair.
I just think that's lacks any real historical perspective. What people don't understand is that about 100 years ago, people spent about 50% of their income on food. And as little as 50 years ago, we were still spending about 25% of our income on food. Today, Americans spend about 8% of their income on food. So we can certainly afford to eat healthier and eat higher quality food. It's about what one's priorities are, what the choices one's make. And people might prefer to have a bigger home or to get a computer or a more expensive car, and so when people complain about the price of food, they'll always have been complaining about the price of food. Mm-hmm. But in fact, we actually don't spend that much money on food. So
as a percentage
of our total disposable income.
Right. So you view this as a lifestyle choice. I mean, you compare it to spending money on a car or an iPod or whatever else. It's a lifestyle choice.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the most interesting things that people aren't aware of is if you chart how much money we spend on food versus health care.
Right.
We spent, 50 years ago, we spent about 4% of the gross domestic product of the country on health care. Now we spend close to 18%.
So it's sort of flipped.
So yes, we're spending
Right.
less and less money on food and eating less and less healthy food, and we're spending more and more money on health care.
And you see a correlation. We know this on the philosophical basis of Whole Foods.
I absolutely do see a
correlation.
correlation because we know that our nation spends about 80% of our healthcare dollars on diseases that are primarily lifestyle diseases.
Choices we make.
Heart disease,
Right.
stroke, diabetes, obesity, cancer, autoimmune diseases. Those are lifestyle diseases. Mm. Those are avoidable for most people.
Let's talk about the philosophical basis for Whole Foods, because other people have spoken for the company, but I want to hear you speak for the company you founded.
I'm for Whole Foods.
You are for whole with a small W, and as well as with a big W. What is the philosophical basis here? As you try to describe to people what you're trying to accomplish with this business 30 years in, what is it?
Well, that's a complicated question because we're trying to accomplish a lot of things. Yeah. But our core values state pretty clearly. We're trying to sell the highest quality natural and organic foods. We're trying to satisfy and delight our customers. We value team member happiness and excellence. We have partnerships with our suppliers. We're trying to create good returns for our investors. And we're trying to be good citizens in our community and have environmental integrity. Those are our core values. We've been doing that for 30
Right.
plus years.
How do you do on all those things? When you check off the boxes, you feel like you're living up to those things?
The answer is I think we're doing good. I think we're doing better than we did 10, 15, 20 years ago. Do I think Whole Foods has reached the pinnacle of everything we're capable of doing? No.
What's the thing you've done most successfully among those many values you've articulated?
I think we've done all of them pretty good. I mean, we've created good value for our customers, mm-hmm. and that's enabled us to grow. We're a great place to work. We've been named one of the 100 best companies to work for 14 consecutive years.
And in fact, I looked today, you were number 24 on the list for this last, the list came out just a couple mm-hmm. weeks ago. You were number 24, and of the top 50 companies, you far and away had the most employees. So you had a huge base of employees. They had to really support you on all this, and
yes.
so that's saying something.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're very proud of that.
Yeah.
We've also obviously done well by our shareholders. We think we've helped our suppliers, many of them little mom and pops that have been able to grow and expand. I mean, and in many cases helped make their companies really successful.
Right.
So I think, and we've been great citizens in our communities. So I think Whole Foods has fulfilled its core values.
On balance, you feel good about those things?
Yes, but we're always striving to do better.